What's the best present you ever received? When I was really young, I thought I might want to be a scientist. My grandmother didn't really understand what scientists do and gave me a stethoscope. Some clinical scientists use stethoscopes, but for the most part, not really useful. I pretended to like it, and the stethoscope sat in my closet for years. I'm graduating from med school now, and have used the same stethoscope across all these years. It's my good luck charm. A cookbook that my mom made. She hand wrote out each recipe of my favorite dishes growing up. The day that I moved out of the house, she gifted this to me. A really rich friend gave me a super cool and quite valuable Polynesian artifact for a birthday present. I'm still bitter that my parents sold it and sent me the proceeds when they moved to a smaller house instead of sending it to me. A jar of Nutella. I had quit a job I was going nowhere in, applying and interviewing like crazy while supporting my then GF while she was getting through college. I had burned through most of my savings. I was throwing parties every weekend, so I could take the empty beer bottles that friends left at home to the grocery store. There's refundable fees where I live, and buy food with the little amount I would get. I would barely eat breakfast, then feign interest in dinner so my GF could eat and succeed at school. One night, we went to the restaurant with my parents and one of their friends who thought I had lost some weight. My dad slipped me some money before leaving, and when I called later that week to borrow some more money for rent, he asked me if I was okay. I told him that things were tight, but that we managed. He told me, "I don't want you to sell your guitar." I didn't answer. Parents called back a few days later, saying that they would stop by since they would be in town. I was in for a surprise. When I got the door, my mom was standing there with a box filled with groceries. "Go help your dad," she said. "There's more." They had brought us 3 big boxes full of food, including homemade meals. While we were unpacking and putting stuff away, my mom took out a jar of Nutella from one of the boxes. "Sometimes, all you need is a little bit more than the bare minimum," she said. My eyes were wet. Dad made me promise to never put my health in danger by being proud. Edit. Thanks for the silver. A woman I met through work, actually my boss at the time, is one of the most caring and compassionate people I've ever met. Through work we grew a great friendship, and to this day, though she isn't my boss anymore, she's my best friend. Growing up, I've adored the game The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. It was my fav game growing up. I've always wanted it on N64, but being a kid I only ever owned a PlayStation and played Nintendo consoles at my family friend's house. Well, fast forwarded me and that particular girl are chatting about my ongoing mental health issues. I wasn't in a very good place. She was always a great supporter of mine and would often pep me up about continuing on through my issues. One day, out of nowhere she comes up to me and hands me something. It was a game. It was Majora's Mask for the N64. She knew I loved that game, and she actually loved it too. She herself has a tattoo of Majora and loves everything and anything Zelda. She gave me her childhood copy. It was a sign of the relationship we had built, and it was to show me how much I meant to her, and that if I went anywhere, she'd never be the same. I recently got an N64 to play it, and it's one of, if not my most prized possession. I keep her beaten file on it and never plan on deleting it. It means the world to me. TL Doctor. Majora's Mask for N64 from a very important friend of mine. The wife and I built a little lake house a few years back. Did it all ourselves. She was a real trooper during the whole project, and I was able to teach her a lot about construction. The Christmas after we got it done, she used all the progress pictures to make a book through that online thing Walmart has. It was a really special present because of all of the commentary she put with the pictures. There are a lot of inside jokes and happy memories in that little book. When I was about 12, a steamer trunk full of equipment from a professional magician. It had probably been sealed up since the mid-40s. Beautiful stuff. A beautiful bedspread, the thing that goes over your bedding to protect it. It was satin and velvet, with sequins in a beautiful pattern. My parents even kept it and used it after I moved from home. Didn't have a double bed in residences. It was for Christmas one year and all my parents could afford was a few CDs and this bedspread. I was appreciative I got anything. My dog. Husband gave him to me for Christmas the year after we got married. He was a couple years old when we had our daughter. They grew up together and he was absolutely the best dog I could have hoped for. We lost him a couple years back, but the wonderful memories will last a lifetime. Not witty or anything, but my parents got me a dog when I was 9. I'm 22 now. And she's 13. I had some tough times as a teenager and Molly really got me through. Edit. As people are asking, and I'm happy to oblige, this is a tattoo I have of her. During my high school graduation party, my mother invited a few family friends I hadn't seen in years. One of whom was my deceased father's best friend, who I had taken to calling uncle when I was really young. As a present, he gave me one of my father's old drawings of the astronaut from MTV. Something he drew over 30 years ago, and I never knew it existed. It was a real shocker for everybody. When I turned 16, my first boyfriend stitched a pair of pants for me. He used colored thread to stitch a candle, a heart, a sun, the year, and more. Pretty fucking cool embroidery. When you turned the jeans inside out, he had written love notes all over the inner fabric. Made me melt. My old Gamma Boy Advance broke. My parents have never had a bunch of money to spend on us. Well, my parents gathered enough money to surprise me with a Gamma Boy Advance SP. My 12-year-old self gasped and ran upstairs to grab my cartridges. Definitely won't ever forget that. A hoodie with a large kangaroo pouch, like a built-in bag. Carry my guinea pigs, my snake, my dog, my phone, everything in there. Friggin' awesome. I had major surgery my second year in college. I was hooked up with the nicest suite in the hospital due to my best friend's dad being a major figure there when all I really wanted was him to make sure I had a private room if one was available. My best friend was at school out of state and sent flowers, making sure that the florist didn't use anything pink because I hated pink. Someone sent me a basket of my favorite snacks. My brother's boss, someone I had never met, stopped by with another coworker of his, another stranger, and gave me a plant. All of these were so thoughtful, but the absolute best gift came from the funny guy in our group of friends. He knew that I would not be able to eat real food, so he made me jello. A 2-gallon Tupperware tub of jello with a sanitized by boiling and new squeaking dog toy in the middle because it looked too boring otherwise, and he was still trying to make up for accidentally scaring my dog the year before. The level of thought he put into that blew me away. The dog never got the toy, I kept it, and still have it more than 15 years later. I thought my dad forgot about my birthday when I turned 10. He acted like he did until about noon when he told me to get the eggs out of the car. When I went to get the eggs I ended up getting a Lego Millennium Falcon. 13 now. And it still hasn't been destroyed. I will cherish it forever. I don't know if this is considered a present per se, but it was a treat for sure. This guy I dated knew I missed spending time outdoors because I was going to college full time and working multiple part-time jobs at the time. So he surprised me with a Saturday before my finals, and we spent the day hiking, horseback riding at a nearby state park, and going to a local brewery. I didn't appreciate the way things ended between us, but it's still a day I'm very fond of years later. I was a neurotic kid. Probably suffered from the same depression and anxiety I have now. I remember contemplating killing myself at 6. WTF. My parents got me a puppy for my 8th birthday, and that probably saved my life. Me and that damn dog were inseparable. I made it all the way through college and back home with my parents when we finally had to let him go. He was nearly 16, I was 23. A dope ass shop vac. My sewing machine. I've made so many gifts for others on that thing. My ex-coworker got me this plush dinosaur named Rocky from a pizza chain here in my state. I had gotten it as a prize because I won the costume contest when I was around 7 or 6, but lost it that same day. I found someone selling the plush dinosaur on eBay and was thinking of getting it when I had the money. When I opened my present and saw it, I wanted to cry because that pizza place was my childhood and my parents would take us there all the time. They shut down the location near where I live when I was 7 and there are only 2 locations, but outside my city. The best present I ever received was a wallet. It wasn't wrapped or even handed to me. The person who gave it to me knew I had my last wallet for a few years. And it was ripping apart. I'm really bad about spending money on myself, as in I don't do it. I have no idea when. But they bought me a new wallet and hid it in a place where I would sometimes keep my wallet. It may not seem like a big thing, but the best gifts are the ones that are given with thoughtfulness. My wife gives the best Xmas gifts. She got me a decent seat to WrestleMania the other year and that was the best gift ever until she got me a golden retriever puppy this year. I don't think that will ever be topped. I'm a lucky guy. My aunt once put aside an extra portion of food every time she made supper for her family for a month and then delivered it to me. I was a starving college student and that was a very appreciated gift. Wife brought me to a Weird Al concert. I'd been a fan for decades and it was the very first time I ever went to a concert. At all. Front row. He spat on us. Super cool guy, shook my hand after the show and I made him laugh. His hair smells like strawberries. 10/10ths would get spat on again. My wife got me a Kindle many years ago just to be nice. I started reading a book a month, which was about 10 times what I read pre-Kindle. It was such a sweet gift. A close friend of mine gave me a large sum of money to go dye my hair because I went with her to her third tattoo and expressed how disappointed I was that I cannot get one of my own. I spent a whole day at a salon with a stylist who was very eager and excited to work with my very long virgin hair. I left with 4 colors and a massive grin. A really cool dirt bike from my dad for Christmas. My first full-size dirt bike. It's a fucking beast in the woods. No lie. Birthday is on May 30th. This May 30th was special. See, the Toronto Raptors were playing vs the Warriors on the 30th. So for my birthday, I wish that the Raptors would win the series. And they did. A franchise first, and like the first Canadian champs in 24 years. Best present I've ever gotten. Next year I'm gonna ask for world peace or for nuclear fusion to get off the ground, do some real good with my wishes. A holiday to Barcelona. It was such a fun time and I will remember it forever. Christmas morning was a highly ritualized experience. The parents would put out the presents under the tree the night before. In the morning, we couldn't come downstairs until Grammy and Pops arrived. Then we'd rush downstairs and into the family room where we had stockings with our names on them. These were filled with smaller presents like chocolate and socks and deodorant. We'd then go into the living room and open presents by distributing one at a time to each person. On Christmas morning, 1999, my parents had gotten us a special present. One so big that they didn't wrap it, they just put it in a suitcase and left it out in the middle of the floor. We charged down the stairs, and on the way to the family room, my 12-year-old older brother saw something out of place and went to check it out. I had already slid my socks across the hardwood into the other room. I heard my brother scream Sega Dreamcast from the other room, evidently blindsided by the sheer magnitude of the present. We'd never owned a game console. Mom was unprepared for this breach of protocol and made us fake it again for the cameras. There were a lot of fucked up things going on in my 9-year-old life that I carried alone until my mid-20s, and there's a good reason I'm not currently speaking to my family. But that's the most memorable Christmas I've ever had.